The Liberals lie and the Conservatives let them get away with it. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. It was a stunning feat to see Immigration Minister John McCallum standing in the House of Commons denying that something happened, even though his government's already admitted more than once that it did. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the expenses incurred by the Department of National Defense to house Syrian refugees. You remember the plan. There were going to be up to 6 bases that were going to house Syrian refugees as part of the Trudeau's government's grand plan to bring in so many refugees so fast. So there were renovations done. Soldiers were moved out of their barracks. $6.1 million in costs were incurred. And yet, when the Conservatives stood up in the House of Commons and asked John McCallum and the Trudeau government about this on Tuesday, McCallum out and out lied.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the immigration minister wouldn't say how much the Syrian refugee program will cost Canadians. He said it will come under budget, but there is no budget. The minister also admitted that 13% of refugees, or 3,400 people, are still in hotels. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals renovated 5 Canadian Forces bases for 6,100 people, costing $6.4 million. Why did the Liberals blow millions displacing troops over Christmas to house refugees with no intent on using them?
The Minister of Immigration.
Talk about a glass half empty or half full, Mr. Speaker. I had said yesterday that 87% of the refugees have now found permanent housing. That is a very large number, and we should be pleased with it. And the remaining 13% will find permanent housing very soon. And my colleague beside me, the Minister of Defense, confirms there is nothing truthful in his comments about defense.
Now, it's funny that McCallum would point to Minister Sajjan and say, the ministers assured me that no such thing happened because I'm holding an order paper question. This is a response to an order paper question. What's that? It's a very formal way for opposition MPs of any stripe to ask the government a question and to get an answer. They're not allowed to obfuscate like they do in question period. They can ask specific questions and get specific answers. James Bazan, Conservative MP from Manitoba, asked the government about the costs and how many soldiers were relocated. It's signed off on by Harjit Sajjan, Minister of National Defense, right there. There's his signature. Well, let me point to one of the pages in here that details 370 soldiers were moved out of their barracks at CFB Kingston. 10 soldiers were moved from their barracks at CFB Valcartier. And then you go down the list of all the different expenditures that they had. We've got $2.64 million at CFB Borden, $2.82 million in renovations at CFB Valcartier, $400,000 at CFB Kingston. At CFB Trenton, it was $257,000. And then, of course, the infamous one, CFB Meaford, $255,000, including building a 120-foot by 60-foot shelter for social, recreational, cultural, and worship sites. That's right, that's the mosque and cultural center that they built for the refugees that never came. And yet more than $6 million was put forward spent by the Department of National Defense on an immigration and refugee file. McCallum says it never happened. The government's already admitted to it. So did McCallum lie? That was my question to James Bazan.
He definitely misled, and we are aware of the numbers because they're right there. Almost 400 troops were relocated in anticipation of refugees being placed on base. We know how much the costs were associated with upgrading summer barracks to winterize them to accommodate refugees that they never received. I still feel very strongly that that should not have come out of the operating budget of national defense. It's money taken away from the readiness and capabilities of our forces.
So Bazan is at least willing to say he misled the House. He's trying to use parliamentary language. I get that. But what I don't understand is why the Conservatives didn't raise this issue in the House of Commons again. They asked the question Tuesday. McCallum lied. They knew he lied. They didn't ask a follow-up question. Wednesday, they didn't ask a follow-up question. They didn't raise a point of order. They didn't do anything. But Bazan says, don't worry, we're looking into options for calling the government to account. There was nothing today.
Yeah, well, we're still looking at whether we bring this forward as another question, or we bring it up as a point of order, or even a matter of privilege. So we are having discussions within the House leadership as to how we best pursue this blatant statement by the minister that misled Canadians.
Okay, so Liberals lie. We get that. We know it's going to happen, but let me give the Conservatives some unsolicited advice. What you need to do when a minister lies, bald-faced lies to Parliament, is call them on it. You don't let them get away with it. You don't let them sit on it for days. You call them on it the minute it happens. This was a question asked on a Tuesday based on an order paper question that you people had filed. You fumbled the ball Tuesday, you fumbled the ball Wednesday. You can't let this sort of thing continue to happen if you're going to hold a government to account, a government that wants to claim they're open and transparent, but is anything but open and transparent. The Conservatives need to up their game if they're truly going to be Her Majesty's loyal opposition.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.